to change, you filthy animal.
Yippee-ki-yay!
You Virginia don't fair, dear.
Shaken, not stirred.
You talking to me?
You're a wizard, Harry.
I volunteer as tribute.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to spoken motion.
Deirdre Chambers. What a coincidence.
That's so fat.
How woo.
Wakanda forever!
Welcome back, my darlings, to Not My Genre, the Fire Teller Film Review. It's such a wonderful day here in the Fire Teller production office. Oh my gosh, I'm Nate. Will, tell us, what movie are we doing today?
Well, we're doing Love and Monsters, the big Netflix action adventure sci-fi film.
Yeah.
Yep, you can find it on Netflix. Just,
Fantastic.
at your friendly local Netflix.
Your friendly local Netflix.
Yeah, on your TV set. So check it out if you haven't seen it. We're going to be spoiling everything. So
We are.
We're deep diving into the story. So if you haven't
Deep
watched
diving.
it, I reckon check it out first, then come back and listen to us.
Now listen, I don't know if you heard, I don't know if you caught on, but I said something that's remarkably different in the intro today. Did you hear it, Will? Did you hear what I said?
This is a monumental moment for us.
Monumental.
We have completely changed the name of our podcast.
We've rebranded.
That's right. It used to be Totes Ridic Profesh, which was always like an adage we used to say about how if we saw a really great piece of work, it was Totes Ridic Profesh.
It wasn't just that. It was just like, it was at the level of TRP.
TRP.
It had TRP-ness.
It did. It had TRP-ness.
It did.
So, but now we got rid of that name. We're now Not My Genre, which is a catchphrase we've been saying since the beginning of the series, actually.
Absolutely.
You can hear it in episode 1.
Look,
but don't go listen to episode 1, please.
Please never listen to episode 1. Now that you've said that, they're all going to go. It's like, when you say, you'll see yellow cars today. All you see is yellow cars. But there's hardly any out there. So Not My Genre, we wanted something that was sort of in the cinematic kind of realm, didn't we?
I guess so, yeah, we did. And
with
it's
our
rebrand. Poppy like podcast
Yeah.
title should be.
Yeah, why don't we spend the entire podcast just talking about the title?
Well, you seem to be doing that today. I got to say, you've taken a lot of schnozberries today, haven't you?
Schnozberries.
You're right in the rainbow.
Schnozzy today. Now, listen, we not only have we changed the name of the podcast, but we've kind of tweaked a few things here and there. I like a good tweak every now and then.
I think it's good. We are really positioning ourselves as a story podcast. So
absolutely,
we're going to begin with. We have 3 scores. We're going to begin with our first impression.
Well, hang on a second.
Do we need to explain everything?
No, wait a second. Just hang on.
People want to get to the goss, to the movie.
Back. Just get in the corner.
Oh, fine. All right, go.
Do
it.
At the mouth. Now listen, we used to have 5 scores. Now we thought, look, we just need to save some time because all we do is natter on. Why don't we just have 3? So we're going to start with our first...
That's as simple as it was. Hey, we got 5. Why don't we have 3? All right.
Listen, I'm not very happy with you today. Listen, we have a first impression score. Now, what that is without thinking about it, without analysing anything, without getting into the semantics and the thematics of anything, how did we just respond? How did Nate respond? How did Will respond?
Exactly.
So it's purely, it's just without thought.
Yeah. This is good because it gives us a chance to, you walk into the cinema, you get to just say whatever you thought as soon as you walked out. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to worry about sounding smart.
No, you don't need to analyze it. Just was there something about that movie?
You can really love a terrible film.
Totally.
With that score.
Totally. But then we're going to go and have a bit of a think.
We're going to think about it. We're going to break it down.
We're going to break it down.
We're going to chat about it.
We're going to chat about it. We're going to pull it apart. Yeah. We're going to have our interpretation of the story. And this is our story score. Yeah. This is the meat.
And when we say story, we really mean story structure.
Story structure, characterization, the core, how it all works together.
Values.
So
everything.
After we've done that, we're going to give our final Not My Genre score.
That's it. The NMG score.
The NMG.
We're going to make that stick, like fetch.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, okay? It's just not going to happen.
We're going to make it happen.
Right. So the NMG score is a considered score. It's a rationalized score. We've gone away. We've thought about it. Now, how...
Can I just say, it's a decision. And did you know that decision, the word decision, comes from the word incision, which means to cut off. It means to make a final, to separate, to make, this is it. This is it.
Thank you.
We're separating. So
thank you so much for your
learned that today.
Phonetic...
I'm glad I can add something to this. Because it's usually just
forensic
you raving
breakdown
on.
of the English language today.
Right.
Now let's get on to the movie, shall we?
Yeah.
That's
All right.
enough.
Love and
talking.
Monsters. Actually, we should just say who we are. We
Who
are
are we?
Fireteller Film and Story. Check out fireteller.com.
So say it again.
Work.
Say it again.
Fireteller Film and Story. Story.
Go to fireteller.com, check out our work. We service videos and web series, anything, basically videos, to everyone in Australia.
Yeah. I like how you said we service videos. It's like a service station
Well, we
for
don't,
videos.
we don't service the videos. We
Serve us.
Serve us. That's a call out to one of our
fans.
clients. Okay, look, let's get into Love and Monsters. Okay, tell us a bit about it, Will.
Love and Monsters. It's set 7 years after a monster apocalypse, which you can basically say they sent up these rockets to destroy this meteor, which was about to hit Earth. And yes, it destroyed the meteor, but rained down chemicals onto the Earth, and all the bugs and cold-blooded things turned into big monsters. So our protagonist, Joel Dawson, along with the rest of humanity, has been living underground for this time. And after reconnecting on the radio with his high school girlfriend, Amy, who is now 80 miles away.
That's Amy with an I and two E's, by the way.
Right, yes, Amy with an I and two E's. Joel decides to venture out to find Amy despite all the dangerous monsters that stand in his way.
You know, I really appreciate your attempt to make it sound like you didn't read that.
I didn't read that. What are you talking about?
Well, no, I didn't see you reading it at all.
No.
Look,
You're
this
blind.
this film is directed by Michael Matthews. Now, tell us a bit about him.
Okay,
Will.
Michael Matthews. We haven't heard much from him actually. This is his second feature film. His
Yeah.
first feature film was quite a success on the festival circuit. It did sort of the rounds. It got into Fantastic Fest. And that
Five
was
Fingers
called-
for Messiah.
That's right.
Sorry to cut you
I like
off
your
there.
pronunciation there, Messiah. That's right.
Yeah, there you
French.
go.
But his background includes directing commercials, music videos, and short films. So big things have come from this director.
Yeah.
This is his biggest film to date.
Kind of his breakout film, really. Now, most importantly, this film was written by Brian Duffield.
We
and-
always like to hold up writers. We're a writing podcast.
No, absolutely. Can I say something? I got something to say.
Oh, writers should be credited first.
Honestly, writers, we put so much emphasis, and when we say us, I mean like generally in in mainstream people, just not just filmmakers and storytellers, just generally people, put so much emphasis on the director.
They do, don't they?
You know?
But really, if an ordinary director walks in and they have a great script, they're fine. They're covered.
But the thing is, like, even in everyday, like pub conversations or conversations around, the Sunday roast with your family, you hear comments like, oh, that
Steven Spielberg
thing
film.
that Steven Spielberg did at that point, that's so amazing that he did that. But well, really, that's not the director that did that.
That's right.
The writer who chose that.
And you
thing.
can almost guarantee that those moments that really resonate with people, the writer had put that in.
Yeah. So look, we're on a mission. Our mission is to connect, teach, and change the world, but it's also to put writers in the limelight. So listen,
Lime.
light. That's so weird. I don't know.
You're bizarre.
You're so strange. Your face is strange.
The writers, Brian Duffield, who did the screenplay and the story, and then Matthew Robinson, who did just the screenplay.
Yeah.
Not just. I mean, it's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Brian Duffield, he had recently written Underwater, which was one we reviewed on podcast 24.
Go check it out.
And then Matthew Robinson did Dora and the City of Lost Gold, which was the Dora Explorer adaptation.
Yeah, which was actually, I only watched
wrote
a
that.
little bit. Let's not go into,
Yeah, you watched this. I didn't see this. Tell us
Forensic-
about Dora.
let's not.
Okay.
But go and check it out. It's really interesting. It's kind of like the Brady Bunch, kind of sends itself up. It's kind of cool. Produced by, not Dora, this film, Love and Monsters, produced by Sean Levy and Dan Cohen. Now, they've basically been out there and
Hollywood
done everything.
royalty, really, now.
Absolutely.
Big names in Hollywood. Sean Levy, obviously, Night at the Museum franchise.
Totally. Did you know
directed
Sean
those.
Levy has actually seen one of our films?
Has he seen it, do you think?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So we had a guy, an actor, a very talented actor, Taris Tyler, who acted in a film we made called Disarm, which was a 20-minute film about two men that...
He's
that
Hugh
basically-
Jackman's
he
body
was
double.
for a while, for a couple of years or more, maybe. I think it was more than that.
He did Australia, he did
did-
Wolverine,
you're
he
right.
did...
He was the stand-in. So
Yeah.
basically, he was the one on set early in the morning, getting the directions from all the crew, the lighting crew and everything, and then he would relay that to Hugh Jackman. But he was in a film of ours, and then that film was quite successful. And
Very
and
successful,
Sean Levy
wasn't
and
it?
Hugh Jackman ended up seeing it
They
because
did. It was in a festival.
it was a
sort of
calling card
in
for Taris,
LA and
maybe.
in Hollywood, and they on set said, "Oh, Taris has got a film," and so they went and watched it. So
And when it got into the Toronto Inside Out Festival, they announced it over the loudspeaker while they were making that film about monsters,
robots. I can't
what was
remember.
it called? Robot something?
I can't remember
It was
what it was
about boxing robots. I can't remember, but
Can't
Sean Levy
remember.
directed that one.
fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, so what was your first impression score?
Yeah, I'm giving this a 7.
Are you?
I actually really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun film. You know? Oh, the CGI was amazing.
CGI is incredible.
And the action scenes were really cool.
Totally. Really sat within the canon of, the action adventure sort of movies. Loved it. Yeah, my first impression was 7. I've seen it twice. My first impression did go down for the second one, but I'm going to stick to 7.
Your first impression is your bloody first impression.
Listen,
it's
I
not
have
your second impression.
I have 2 first impressions.
What do you mean you got 2 first impressions? I've got 2 first impressions of you. Immediately, I thought you were okay, but now I think you're a bloody bizarre weirdo.
You're so rude to me.
How rude.
How rude. Okay, so that's great. Let's get into story. Let's get into the chunky stuff.
Cool.
Shall we?
All right.
Let's do it.
So usually we like to look at character values because let's be honest, values are almost everything when it comes to a story. A good story charts the change, or a positive arc story charts the value change in a protagonist. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the values in conflict for this story? Like, what was going on really underneath the surface?
Okay, well, let's just disclaim this for a second. Everything we say is obviously our interpretation. Yeah. We don't actually know the values.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't talked to the screenwriters.
We don't know the screenwriter. We don't know. So this is our interpretation. Now, I think that this film is fundamentally flawed. I do.
Yeah, wow.
I really do. It's a big call.
But be honest, you think most films are fundamentally flawed?
No, I don't think that. No, I don't think that.
Okay,
I mean, obviously, every film has its failures and successes.
Sometimes you got to break rules.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's breaking rules, and then there is making fundamental mistakes.
Right.
So with this, how deep do you want to go today?
Yeah,
Rob?
I think we need to go
should
down
we
the rabbit hole.
Should we go down
there?
Okay. All right. So listen, Christopher Booker wrote a book. He's amazing. The book's called The 7 Basic Plots. Go and read it. It will take you about 3 years to read. It's huge. It's the size of a house. Now, there's about 5 pages in his book, which is absolute gold.
Out of 800.
Out of about 800,000, where he talks about the 4 values that make up basically the human personality. Now, this is quite...
We're talking about 4 groups of values.
4 groups of values. Good. Thank you for clarification. Now, it's quite psychological. There are 2 masculine values and 2 feminine values. Now, let me just disclaim... Groups. Thank you very much for catching me. Let me just disclaim that by saying that doesn't mean that a male needs to have the masculine or a female needs to have the feminine.
Yeah, there's something called mental sex. So you can find the feminine values in a male character.
Totally.
And you can find the masculine values in a female character.
Absolutely. It's basically traditionally... archetypally, what is assumed to be the masculine, what is assumed to be the feminine. Yeah. So if you want to go and surprise your audience, as we see in a lot of films, you will go and give a female a masculine value, and vice versa. We love to see really strong, active women.
We do. Think of Ellen Ripley in the Alien series.
Totally.
Think of Wonder Woman.
We love this, and and equally so, we love to see a very sensitive, emotionally intelligent male. Emotionally vulnerable male.
We do.
We really like to see that. It makes them strong.
Probably less so than the woman's side, to be honest.
But
I think we need to see more of that. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, totally. Totes. Okay, so these values, there's a power value, power, strength, masculine.
Okay, so you're going to go through the 4 groups of values.
I am.
Power, strength, that's the first group.
That's the first one. Thank you. That's usually opposed with a selfless feeling feminine value.
Okay, so what that means is that usually in a story you'll find a character that usually has that power feeling value or some variation of the power feeling value, and they need to find the power value, and they need to find the feeling value.
That usually, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
On the other side of, I'm frothing at the mouth today.
At the mouth a bit today.
I am. Look, I don't know what's going on. I tell you why. It's because I'm dieting.
Oh. Well, we're gonna segue to your diet.
We're gonna segue.
Right now.
Yeah,
it has to be mentioned.
Yeah, it does.
You're basically eating 0 calories a day.
Well, it's not. No, I'm doing it healthy. I'm doing it healthy. I've lost almost 8 kilos, so I'm doing okay.
That's amazing.
Anyway, back to the values.
Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum, we have the masculine order value, which is usually opposed with the feminine intuitive understanding value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think an example is called for here. So if you're looking at a film, films are best to refer to, but a story where you have characters that manifest that masculine order value, and they need to find their intuition value. Something like Titanic is a really good example.
Great example.
The protagonist, Avatar too. Yeah. So the protagonist Rose in Titanic, she is from class and status. The Titanic itself literally represents opulence. It represents that status, and that needs to essentially break in half for her to find her freedom.
So an order value is about hierarchy and
status, order.
It's basically getting control through organization.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
It's seen as the mind value.
So Rose occupies this world, and she needs to connect with a character that occupies intuition, which is a character like Jack.
And she needs to learn to see beyond the class and status, and she needs to see the person that is sort of within.
That's why there's this really great moment where Rose finally changes after Jack. You probably remember this when Jack's been locked up at the bottom of the ship, and she comes to save him. She says to him, he says to her, "How did you know that I didn't steal what's it called, the
heart of the ocean?"
Heart of the ocean. And she says, "I realized I already knew." So she's already taking on these elements of intuition there.
Absolutely. And same with Avatar. I mean, the catchphrase of Avatar is "I see you."
Yeah.
Which they also say in Titanic.
Yeah. And of course, Avatar is seeing beyond the avatar into the soul of the person.
Into the soul of the person.
So Jake, who comes from this militaristic, ordered background, has to learn how to see beyond.
Fantastic. Now, usually these four values work together as a foursome, right? When they're reached, when they're fully realized within a protagonist, we reach equilibrium. We reach perfect harmony, and we feel that resonance.
Yeah.
So we usually start a story by seeing one of those values missing. And the whole story is about growing and changing into realizing what they're missing, and then acquiring that thing and reaching balance. That's basically the paradigm of a story.
Why? Like, is this just made up? You're probably asking. No, this whole thing comes. Well, it is made up. It's a concept, but what I mean is, it comes from the age-old monomythic story, which basically is the child being born into the world and then having to leave the safety of the mother to go out and find a mate to marry that
totally
mate, and then to start their own family.
Absolutely.
Again.
It's about survival.
It's about survival.
When you leave the nest, you are missing something, and so you have to go and fill that void with a mate. In order for the legacy to continue. It's basically the fundamentals of story.
Yeah, it's the most basic human journey that every single human being up until this point has had to go through, and we tell it in every story that we tell.
Totally, we see the pattern reflected. In all of our stories, even today, not just the old stuff. We see it today.
Yeah. Okay, now we better get back to it. Anyway, Love and Monsters is called Love and Monsters.
I just want to clarify one more thing. That with a contemporary story, with any story really, it's usually one of those pairs of values that becomes the core, the central binary of the entire film. So usually that story will either be a power versus feeling film, or it will be an order versus intuitive understanding film. Okay? That we just keep things nice and simple.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Kiss.
Now, here's the thing with Love and Monsters.
Right.
Here's the thing.
Okay, so first of all, it's called Love and Monsters. So you think one value is probably going to be love.
Do you think so,
I think so.
Do you think?
Monsters? Can you value monsters?
Well, you can't value monsters, but I think the title is trying to allude to more of a courage versus love, which is a power versus selfless feeling type core. Yeah. So you automatically assume that it's going to go in that direction, which is quite a simple story, by the way. Those stories that have that core.
Yeah.
Also, we see, what's our protagonist's name again? So Joel. Joel has this neuroses where he freezes in utter...
Okay, neuroses, in other words, a flaw.
A flaw.
He's missing... It's something that comes from his missing value.
Absolutely. So obviously he's missing courage. When he comes across one of these gigantic monsters, he freezes, he can't operate, he shuts down, right? Or he runs away. So that, so you automatically think, okay, well, it's got to be about... courage versus love, and he's missing courage. But then the story takes a huge detour and it goes onto the other binary, and it becomes about realizing who his true family is.
That's right.
Now talk about that. Will.
Okay, so there's this key moment when Joel reaches the base where Amy, his love interest, is. When he reaches there, and essentially Amy tells him that she's in love with someone else, someone that passed away, and that she is not in love with Joel anymore. It's been 7 years, and things have changed.
Totally.
And in this moment, Joel opens up a map that his colony, the one he left, gave him.
It's actually a beautiful moment.
It's a beautiful moment. He finds all these signatures on it saying, "We'll miss you. Please come back soon."
Yeah.
And he realizes that his real love or his real calling was to be with his family. And not Amy after all. And as you see in a lot of films, and everyone knows this, you have an ironic ending where a character thinks they want one thing but end up needing another thing.
Totally.
We'll go into that in more detail in other podcasts.
So in other words, he had a realization that what he needed, he had at the beginning all along. So it became more about seeing
who his true family
is, seeing beyond, what
that's interesting, isn't it?
Beyond the parts, basically. So it becomes an intuitive understanding value that's missing within him.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Right. Now this is a fundamental flaw. Now, if you might be thinking, oh God, you're thinking too thematic. You're being too symbolic. You're being too simple here. But if you look at Titanic, if you look at Avatar, if you look at the Marvel films, if you look at, some of the greatest movies, they really are just about two things.
Yeah. I mean, you really don't complicate it. You never really see a protagonist choosing between A, B, and C. They're always choosing between A and choosing B.
Totally.
That's it.
Totally. Now, that's not to say that, I really resonated with this movie.
Yeah, it was fun. It's not to say that just because a film doesn't, follow this value map perfectly, it's not going to be an enjoyable film.
That. Yeah, totally.
But it has a chance to resonate more with audiences if it was to stick to this primal, archetypal way of telling stories.
How much better could the film have been had it just...
And the thing is, people will never really know because it's an intuitive thing. It's like there is a thing where you just feel it, where you just, that feeling when you're at the movies and everything just goes quiet and you just are just so connected and
it's
you're just
something
so in that story.
I'm sure you guys out there have
that
experienced
catharsis.
it. It is a profound moment. It's almost like that you have your own revelation.
Yeah.
You connect so deeply with the character and the story that it changes you.
Yeah.
Have you had that before?
That's why we do this. That's the power of cinema and the power of stories.
That comes from these values. It comes from these cores. And this film, we believe, stuffed that up. We're really sorry to the writers, but we think that it could have been so much stronger.
Yeah. Had it just sort of stuck to that.
Totally.
Can
I suggest one quick fix?
Yeah.
I think that they should have got rid of that neuroses. I think they should have got rid of him freezing with the monsters. I think if you had have just completely got rid of the courage, fear shit, and just kept it as realizing who his true family are, made him more of an ordered personality, which they kind of hinted at. They kind of hinted that he's into radios, that
he's a bit technical.
He's a bit technical. He had these powers of deduction to try and find Amy until he, located her at Jenna Beach, whatever it's called. They could have just turned that up a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. And can I suggest another change they could have made?
Yeah.
So after that moment we just described where he finds the map with all the signatures on it, basically he immediately figures out that Amy's colony, the one he's traveled to, is under threat from Cap. From a character. So he basically...
The yacht captain.
He spends the fourth act of the film, which is the final act of the film, trying to save Amy and trying to save Amy's colony, when in actual fact it would have been so much more profound and powerful if he realized in that moment that he needed to go home and save his own family. And the thing is, the writers actually wrote... When he gets to Amy's colony and he actually is able to radio contact his old colony, they wrote in a scene where his colony says, well, we've had multiple breaches and we need help.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
It's almost like
opportunity.
So he just ignores that.
Yeah. Well,
and then ends up...
He does go back to them in the very end.
Yeah.
But what you're trying to say is that that's not what it should have been.
No.
It should have been a total Act 4.
Yeah.
He
should have been running back to his colony.
It's like the revelation he has doesn't connect to anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it just confuses everybody when they have that kissing scene at the end between him and Amy. It's just like, what the hell's going on? She's not... It would have been so much more powerful to have a Casablanca ending. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She moves on. He realizes who his family is.
Yeah.
He goes back to his family.
I know. What the hell?
What the hell?
She basically tells him she's not in love with him, and then they kiss. Confusing. Sorry, just because you saved her from a giant crab doesn't mean you can have a kiss.
I reckon a producer's at some point, someone above the writers, because I mean that's That's a huge mistake to
Yeah,
make. I
yeah.
think that someone stepped in and made a few
They've
little
meddled
tweaks.
a little bit, yeah.
Meddled a little bit.
No. They've meddled. Yeah.
Right, they got the mouth today.
Frothing. Yeah, so that's our 2 cents on that one.
Well, do you want to? You had an amazing point about the 2 choice points in.
We
our
haven't discussed
Act
this
2.
before this podcast. What are you talking about?
What? I know.
This is the first time we've talked about
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Yeah, right.
Did you want to talk about the choice points in Act 2?
Yeah, so obviously, or not obviously, but Act 2, the second act.
Just FYI, we do believe that there are 4 acts in a film,
Yeah,
not
4
3.
acts.
But we'll
Right.
talk about that in another
Yeah,
podcast.
but this is the interesting thing about the 4-act structure is it's really, well, the 3-act structure is really the 4-act structure because in, Hollywood, they stick to a 3-act structure, but
they split the
Yeah.
second act into 2.
it's
so
a 2A into 2B, but we just call that 2 and 3.
For God's
so
sake,
it's the same thing.
it's 4 acts.
Yeah, it's 4 acts.
For
Just
God's
stop
sake, say
confusing
there's 4.
everyone. Just say it's 4.
Okay.
So the second act comes after the first act and before the third act.
Yeah, that's what Aristotle says. No, I'm serious. There's a quote. I'm going to get it for next podcast. It's ridiculous.
I know. It's basically so the hero at this point has left his the safety of his ordinary world and is traveling and facing trials and tribulation. What's it called? Trials. He's facing trials.
In his acclamation stage.
He's in his acclamation stage. Anyway, he gets to a point where he really, he faces a choice that he has to make.
Well, hang on. He's met these 2 characters,
Yeah.
who, by the way, are fantastically written, Minnow and Clyde. Can I tell you what?
And they're 2 people that live on the surface, which is something that he's like, what? You live on the surface?
Totally.
He thinks everyone lives underground.
Totally, and they're the ones who train him. They introduce him to the world of the monsters. He learns everything that he needs to know from these 2 characters. What I am going to give these writers credit for is that they really functionalize their characters.
Yeah, it's good.
So when
you mentioned this,
yeah, when we didn't need Minnow and Clyde anymore, they literally stopped being in the movie. We didn't see them again until like a flashback at the last few seconds of the movie.
Inconsequential, just to find out what happened to them.
They literally left the story in Act 2, and that was it.
That's good writing.
That's great writing. I love that.
Who cares? They're just there to serve a function. Sorry to be blind, but that's what it is.
That's it. That's all you are. But what Will's trying to say is that after they've had their training, they come to a point where they have a ghost choice. We've called it the ghost choice. And in this movie, it's very clear. They come to literally a fork in the road. There's literally a sign that is forking in 2 different directions.
And funnily enough, this is the same choice as in Pixar's Onward.
Right, exactly the same.
A fork in the road.
And at this point, the protagonist needs to choose between doing something worthy,
A,
doing something unworthy,
and B.
Now, in this movie, what are those things, Will?
Well, one is to go with Clyde and Minnow on their adventure to basically
his newfound family,
to go
and the dog, which has become his
the dog
family.
to live and fight with them as
Up in the mountains,
on
that's
the
right.
mountains, something like that.
Yeah.
And the other one is to stick to his original plan to go to the coastal colony and find Amy.
Which seems to be worthy, but isn't. But isn't. That's
Well,
not
we'll
what
find out that later.
Yeah, that's not what he needs. So a ghost choice. Usually in a movie, they always make the wrong decision. They have to make the wrong decision, and after that, they have to fail. They have to be punished for it.
But what happens in this film?
He's
He
rewarded.
succeeds. So then the dog is attacked by a giant centipede, which is a fantastic action scene.
Looks so
It's
good.
amazing. I think this is where we can say the director needs to be credited for this because it is a great scene.
It's a great
and
scene.
the CGI animators. But he saves the dog. He's able to overcome his fear, his freezing, and he's able to save the dog. Now, sure, that's something that can work, but
Just move it later.
He could have just moved it later. What
Move it
really,
to worthy
what really
choice.
needed to happen is he needed a big consequence from that ghost choice that he made. He needed to be punished essentially for making the wrong choice.
Absolutely. And a suggestion.
wasn't.
A suggestion is that the dog can't die because it needs to come back up.
And because it's cute.
And because it's cute. But the dog could have been captured by some sort of big monster, taken to a nest or something. There needed to be some really big,
He
consequence.
needed to get further in the shit. And he didn't.
And he didn't.
And that's, you've always got to take your protagonist to the worst place that they
to
can
the
go.
nth degree. We call it the nadir, but anyway. And then tell us about Worthy Choice, the Oracle.
Yeah, so
Beautiful
then
scene.
there is a beautiful Worthy Choice Oracle scene. So what usually happens in a good, well-written story, and look, not all stories have to do this, but it does help, and you see it in a lot of stories, is after that defeat moment, after that consequence and that punishment for making the wrong choice, the hero finds themselves at an oracle figure, a mother figure. Well, not necessarily a mother, but occupying that energy. In fact, in the Matrix, it is an oracle.
Classically, Joseph Campbell, it's a goddess type, mystical, magical sort of
Minority
person.
Report's a really good one.
Oh, beautiful. But it doesn't need to be that.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
It could be. And so...
But in this movie...
In this movie, he meets Mavis, who is a retired robot. And there's this absolutely beautiful scene.
I cried in this scene.
Yeah, where Mavis talks about his family and is able to contact the internet or something and bring up a picture of his mum.
From obviously some Facebook or something. And so
his
Mavis's face is actually a screen and Joel's mother's face comes up. So it's
like he's talking to his mum.
Joel has a conversation with his mother, who, by the way, was killed by a monster before the story started.
Yeah. So this is a story about someone who's lost their family, feels disconnected, and needs to find their new
their
family.
real family. That's right.
So it's very clear that was being written into the story, and then some
clear.
producer got their hands in it and stuffed it all up.
And
then there's a beautiful scene with jellyfish that fly, which makes no sense because why jellyfish?
I know. It's gorgeous scene. Watch the film for that scene, I can tell you. But here's the thing that's wrong with that scene, is that he's so moved, he's so touched by Mavis's manifestation of his mother that he does have a realization about family. But then still continues
to find Amy.
To go and find Amy. He needs to have had some sort of profound change then and put it into action, which we call the worthy action. And nothing happened.
He needed to basically maybe even go back at that point and try to save
the dog.
With the dog, try to save the dog. If
I don't know.
Or say that his original colony called out at that point, he had to go back there.
Possibly.
Whatever it was from that side of the journey.
Maybe we'll just rewrite the entire movie. How we do that? No, but kudos to the writers, because there are some really beautiful isolated moments in this movie. And let me tell you, go and watch it. You'll enjoy it.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think that's pretty good. I think we covered what we wanted to say about this story.
I think we did. Yeah, there's so much more to say, but we've only got a little bit of time.
Yep.
So that brings us to our...
Story score.
Story score.
That's right. So what are you giving the story for this?
Okay, I'm going to give this a 3.
What?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.
That's harsh.
I have to be.
Even for those little moments. If you're an all or nothing type of person.
You have to. See, you're ordered, and I'm intuitive understanding here. I can see the context.
Placing me in a box.
Sorry. Well, we are right. I feel like I don't think that you can just look at isolated moments and think it's a good movie.
It's true. To see the intelligence of the writer, you got to see how all those moments connect.
There's a cause and effect. The fabric of the entire story, exactly. And I don't think that happened in this movie. So yeah, if I was only basing it on a few moments, I'd give it a 10, but I'm not. I'm basing it on the whole story. Yeah, giving it a 3.
Yeah.
What about
giving it a 5?
Giving it a 5. You're being a bit fair.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think there were some nice moments, but I agree with you. I think there's some small tweaks.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for our YouTube series.
Oh, yes.
Shameless self-plug.
Oh,
and
yes.
our book, which is coming out first.
We've just finished the first draft of our book.
Yeah. Yep. Because we've been doing this thing for 15 years, and we think we've got something to offer. We're not saying we're perfect, but we're riding on the shoulders of giants. We are standing on the shoulders of giants. We've got some good info that we've been able to build up.
We want to share it with the world. We want to connect, teach, and change the world, which is our mission. Go to our website.
That's right.
Okay. Hey, what's your? That brings us to our NMG score.
Yes.
Our final reasoned, informed score. Right. Will, your previous first impression score was a 7. Has it changed now that you have considered the story?
Look, no, it has changed. I'm going to give this a 6. I'm giving this a 6.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm splitting it in the middle.
You're going to sit on the fence. That's not
I guess
like you at all.
The beautiful thing about this podcast is it's our podcast, and we get to decide.
We can do whatever we want.
Whether the story score means more or less.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sticking with a 6.
Okay. Well, mine was also a 7 for my first impressions. I'm taking this down to a 5.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
Smack bang in the middle.
Well, it's about the story. On the fence. Okay, look, that brings us to the end of the podcast. Look, before we go, Will, do we have any updates about us, about you? Tell me about you. How are you?
Oh, well, we haven't talked about us. I mean, we've only talked about us, really. But
about me?
No. Well, I think we need to say that, like this is the first podcast we've done since October, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened for our business since then. So we had an amazing opportunity to put on a massive water screen film. What I mean by that is they sprayed water in the air and projected a 13-minute film about the Noongar the Aboriginal creation
The
story that
Whadjuk
we
Noongar
made
people of
with the Whadjuk Noongar elders, the City of Perth elders. So
Yeah,
we were able to
yeah.
create this film with them, and they projected it.
It was incredible.
For Australia Day, for a week-long festival.
Because obviously with COVID they had to
And
cancel.
20,000 people saw it.
That's right.
Yeah.
They had to cancel the Skyworks. So
fireworks,
so we were given the amazing opportunity to sort of be the main event
Yeah.
for Perth.
Yeah.
Which was very.
It was awesome,
It
wasn't
was
it? It was
incredible.
I mean, we basically worked every day, every night till
Oh
midnight.
God, we nearly died
from Christmas,
That's-
but
we
it
nearly
was
died.
amazing.
But yeah, very very grateful about.
Yeah,
that.
and we're getting the team back together to do it all again.
Another
hopefully.
project for WA Day. Looking forward
Yeah.
to that. We've had lots of projects going on. We're still going strong. Things are good. If
Yeah.
you need any video,
If you need a video,
call us up. We'll help you out. We'll
Yeah.
fly anywhere. Well, is there anything else that
well,
you'd
we didn't
like
mention
to...
any trivia for this film.
Oh,
so I just want to
yes.
say the dog in it was actually two dogs.
Oh, was
Hero
it?
and Dodge.
Oh.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And they
did that
are
seamlessly.
related. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure they're the daughters of the dog that was in Red Dog.
Right.
So
Fantastic. Oh,
Red Dog, famous Australian film.
Red Dog.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they are. They're the daughters of. And they're the same dogs that were in the sequel, Coco,
A Red Dog Story.
which was about the making of Red Dog.
Red Dog. Fantastic. Red Dog. Red Dog.
Red Dog. All right. Awesome. I think it's
Hey,
good.
look, it's been lovely.
Oh, it's been so good getting back into it.
It's been
and we're
lovely.
going to commit to doing this more regularly because we like doing
Totally.
this story stuff.
So we'll see you guys next week on
Yeah.
Not My Genre. Not Totes Ridic Profesh, but
No.
Not My Genre, the
Not My
Fire
Genre.
Teller film review. You guys
Wait,
are awesome.
wait, was-
What?
Was Love and Monsters your genre?
It was not my genre.
Okay. There you go.
Was it your genre?
No, it wasn't my genre.
Say genre really fast,
Not
like
my-
5 times.
Genre.
Really hard word to say. Cool. Cheers. Thanks a lot. Hope you guys are doing well. We'll
Yeah.
see you next time.
Tune in next time. Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh la la